It's June. Your spring bulbs are gone, your tulips collapsed weeks ago, and right now your garden is just green, waiting. And in 3 weeks, when the heat hits, most of it's going to stall out completely. Sound familiar? Now here's what nobody tells you. June is the single best month to plant the perennials that bloom the longest, the ones that explode with color in July, August, and keep going right up to frost while your neighbor's annuals fry and die. I'm talking 15 rare perennials almost nobody plants that bloom for months on a single planting. Plant once. Color all summer. Forever. Hit subscribe right now because we find the plants the big channels are too lazy to dig up. And number 1, it literally does not stop blooming. Let's go. Alright, here's how this works. We're counting down from 15 all the way to 1. And I'm telling you right now, the deeper we get into this list, the better it gets. By the time we hit the top 5, you're going to be pausing this video to write names down. And number 1? Number 1 blooms longer than anything else on this entire list. Longer than almost any perennial you can buy. So stick around, because if you click away early, you're going to miss the single best plant for non-stop summer color. Let's get into it. Number 15, Japanese Aster, Calimeris incisa, and the cultivar you want is Blue Star. Now, most people have never even heard of this plant, and that's exactly why I'm starting here, because the second you grow it, you'll wonder where it's been your whole gardening life. Picture a soft cloud of tiny pale blue daisies, each one with a buttery yellow center, covering a tidy mound of fine green foliage from early summer until the first hard frost. That's not an exaggeration. This thing blooms for 4 months straight. Most long-blooming perennials only keep going if you're out there snipping spent flowers every week. This one just blooms and blooms on its own, no maintenance, no fuss. Planted in full sun to part shade in average, well-draining soil. It's drought-tolerant once established, and it shrugs off heat and humidity like it was born for it. Bees and small butterflies work it constantly. And the best part? It spreads slowly by underground rhizomes, so in 2 or 3 years you can dig up the edges, split them, and have free plants for the rest of your beds. One plant becomes a whole drift. That's the kind of return you want. Perennial scabiosifolia. And this one is for the gardener who wants something nobody else on the block has. Imagine tall, airy stems topped with flat sprays of tiny golden yellow flowers that seem to float about 3 to 4 feet in the air, like a yellow mist hovering over your border. It glows. Honestly, in the late afternoon sun, it looks like the garden is lit from inside. Perennial is hardy in zones 5 through 8, and it blooms from midsummer clear through early fall, easily 2 to 3 months of color. Here's the insider secret. Designers love this plant because of how it mixes. That see-through, gauzy quality means you can plant it right at the front of a border and still see everything behind it. It's a transparency plant, and they are rare and expensive at high-end nurseries. Pollinators absolutely swarm it, hoverflies and bees especially. Pair it with anything purple or deep red, and the color contrast will stop people in their tracks. Number 13, Burnet. Sanguisorba, and the standout here is the cultivar Tanner. Okay, now we're getting into texture territory, because Tanner is all about movement and whimsy. Little maroon-red bottlebrush flowers, no bigger than a thumbnail, bob and nod on thin, wiry stems above a low rosette of pretty, toothed blue-green foliage. When the wind moves through a patch of it, the whole thing dances. It's mesmerizing. Sanguisorba Tanner is hardy in zones 4 through 8, blooms from early summer into fall, and stays compact at about 18 to 24 inches. Here's what most gardeners miss. This is one of the best plants you can grow for that wild, naturalistic, meadow-style garden everyone is obsessed with right now. It does the work of looking effortless and untamed while being completely well-behaved. Plant it in full sun to light shade in soil that stays reasonably moist. It is not your plant for a bone-dry spot, so keep that in mind. Bees love those little red buttons. And like so many on this list, it forms tidy clumps you can divide every few years to multiply your stock for nothing. Free plants, always the goal. Sea holly, Eryngium planum. This is where the list gets a little wild, because sea holly does not look like a normal flower at all. It looks almost otherworldly. We're talking steely, metallic silver-blue cone-shaped flower heads, each one surrounded by a spiky, jagged collar that shimmers with an actual blue sheen in the sun. It looks like something from another planet, and it is unforgettable in a vase. Eryngium is hardy in zones 4 through 9, blooms all through summer for a solid 2 to 3 months, and grows 2 to 3 feet tall. Here's the secret nobody mentions. Sea holly has a deep taproot, which makes it incredibly drought-tolerant once established, but it also means it hates being moved, so pick your spot and commit. Plant it in full sun, in poor, dry, even sandy soil, and I mean poor, rich soil makes it flop. This is the plant for that hot, miserable, dry corner where nothing else survives. Deer won't touch those spikes. Bees and butterflies, on the other hand, cover it. And those metallic blue flowers? They dry perfectly, holding their color for months, which makes them gold for anyone who sells dried arrangements or makes wreaths. Number 11. Crimson Pincushion, Cnortia macedonica. Oh, I love this plant, and almost nobody grows it, which is a crime. Picture dozens of small, deep blood-red pincushion flowers held on slender, branching stems, weaving through the rest of your border like little ruby buttons scattered everywhere. The color is rich, almost wine dark, and it pairs with absolutely everything. Cnortia is hardy in zones 5 through 9, and here's the headline. It blooms from June straight through to frost if you deadhead it. That's a 5-month flower. 5 months. The insider tip here is simple but game-changing. Full sun, average to lean well-draining soil, and it's drought-tolerant once settled in. It self-seeds freely, so you'll get little surprise plants popping up easy to move or share. Bees and butterflies adore it. This is one of those plants that quietly does more work than anything else in the garden. And you'll wonder how you ever gardened without it. Number 10. Scabiosa, specifically Scabiosa columbaria butterfly blue. And the name is your first clue, because if you want butterflies, this is the magnet. Soft, lavender blue pincushion flowers sit on top of slim stems above a neat little mound of foliage, and they just keep coming, dozens and dozens of them, all season long. Butterfly blue is hardy in zones 5 through 9, and it has one of the longest bloom windows of any perennial you can buy, late spring right through fall. It actually won a Plant of the Year award for exactly that reason, because it simply does not quit. Here's the secret to keeping it going. Deadhead regularly, and I mean it, snip the spent flowers off, and this plant will reward you with non-stop color for months. Skip it and it slows down. Plant it in full sun in well-draining soil. It stays compact at 12 to 18 inches, which makes it perfect for the front of a border, edging a path, or even containers. Butterflies, bees, and even hummingbirds visit it constantly. Divide it every 2 to 3 years to keep it vigorous and to make more. It is pound for pound one of the hardest working small perennials in existence. Number 9. Culver's Root, Veronicastrum virginicum. And now we go vertical, because this is one of the most elegant architectural plants you will ever grow. Tall, slender spires, 3 to 5 feet high, shoot straight up and branch near the top into delicate candelabras of white or pale lavender flower spikes. Walls of foliage circle the stems all the way up, so even before it blooms, it's a structural beauty. Veronicastrum is hardy in zones 3 through 8, and it blooms midsummer for several weeks of clean, vertical color when your garden needs height the most. Here's what makes it special. Bees absolutely blanket those spires. Plant it in full sun to light shade in soil that stays evenly moist. It doesn't love drought, so give it a spot that holds a little water. No staking needed if it gets enough sun. Plant it at the back of a border, and it becomes the backbone everything else leans against. Number 8. Persicarium plexicolis, and the cultivar to hunt down is Firetail. Now listen, because this plant is an absolute powerhouse that almost no home gardener seems to know about. Picture hundreds of slender, fiery red flower spikes, like little crimson rockets, standing up over a big lush mound of green foliage, blooming continuously from early summer until frost cuts them down. From a distance, it looks like the whole plant is on fire in the best possible way. Persicaria is hardy in zones 4 through 8, grows 3 to 4 feet tall and wide, and the bloom time, I cannot stress this enough, runs 4 to 5 months with 0 deadheading required. It just goes. Here's the insider knowledge. This is the plant for that damp problem spot. It loves soil that stays moist, so that low area near the downspout or the edge of a pond that you've struggled with. This is your answer, full sun to part shade. Bees and butterflies work it non-stop. It forms a big weed-smothering clump that you can divide every few years for free plants. For sheer length of bloom and dramatic color, Firetail is one of the most underrated perennials on the entire planet. Number 7. Calamint, Calamintha nepeta, and the cultivar Montrose White is the one you want. Okay, this one is small, and I know what you're thinking, but trust me, because this little plant does something almost magical. Imagine a soft, billowing cloud of thousands, and I mean thousands of tiny white flowers, so dense it looks like a low drift of fog hovering over your border, humming with bees from June until October. The aromatic foliage smells faintly of mint when you brush past it. Calamintha is hardy in zones 5 through 7, stays neat at 12 to 18 inches, and blooms for 4 straight months. Here's the secret the pros use. Plant it as an edging or a connecting plant that weaves between bolder perennials. That haze of white tiny flowers ties your whole border together and makes everything around it look more intentional, more designed. It's the glue. Full sun, average to dry, well-draining soil, and it is gloriously drought-tolerant once established. Deer leave it alone thanks to the scent. And the pollinators? This plant is famous in the gardening world for being one of the single best bee plants you can possibly grow. The hum is constant, it's alive. Number 6, Crocosmia, and the legendary cultivar is Lucifer. The name fits because this plant is pure blazing drama. Arching sprays of intense electric scarlet-red trumpet flowers shoot out over tall, sword-shaped pleated green foliage. The whole thing looks like a firework frozen mid-explosion. There is nothing subtle about Lucifer, and that's the point. Crocosmia is hardy in zones 5 through 9, blooms in midsummer for several weeks, and reaches 3 to 4 feet tall. Now here's the part that matters. Hummingbirds. Those red tubular flowers are a hummingbird magnet, and if you've ever wanted to bring them into your garden, this is one of the most reliable ways to do it. Plant it in full sun in well-draining soil. It grows from corms that multiply underground, which means, and this is the beautiful part, your clump gets bigger and better every single year, and you can dig and divide those corms to spread Lucifer all over your garden for free. One caution, give it good drainage through winter, especially in colder zones, or mulch it well. Get that right, and it comes back stronger every season, a little louder, a little more spectacular. Number 5. Sneezeweed, Helenium, and the cultivar Mardi Gras lives up to its name. Don't let the unfortunate common name scare you off, by the way. It doesn't make you sneeze, that's an old myth. What it actually does is set the late summer garden on fire with colour. Mardi Gras gives you warm daisy-like flowers splashed in a carnival of orange, gold, red and yellow, often all on the same bloom swirled together like a sunset. Helenium is hardy in zones 3 through 8, grows about 3 feet tall and blooms from midsummer right through fall, exactly when so many other plants are giving up. Here's the trick the experts use, and it's a good one. In late spring, pinch or cut the plant back by about 1/3. This is called the Chelsea chop, and it makes the plant bushier, sturdier, and loaded with even more flowers later on. No staking needed afterward. Plant it in full sun in average to moist soil that doesn't dry out completely. Pollinators, especially late-season bees and butterflies, fueling up for migration, swarm it. This is high-value, ecologically rich planting, and it's stunning. Divide every 2 to 3 years to keep it vigorous and multiply your show. Number 4. Anise hyssop, Agastache, and the cultivar Blue Fortune is the gold standard. Now we are entering the heavy hitters, and Blue Fortune earns its spot. Picture dozens of soft, fuzzy, powder blue flower spikes, like little bottle brushes, standing up over aromatic foliage that smells of licorice and mint when you touch it. It blooms and blooms and blooms, from midsummer until the very end of the season. Agastache Blue Fortune is hardy in zones 5 through 9, grows 2 to 3 feet tall, and the bloom time runs a glorious 3 to 4 months. Here's the insider secret that makes this plant elite. It is, hands down, one of the most pollinator-magnetic perennials in existence. On a sunny day, a single clump can be covered in bees, butterflies, and hummingbirds all at once. It is alive with movement from morning to dusk. Plant it in full sun in average, well-draining soil. It is extremely drought-tolerant and deer-resistant thanks to that aromatic foliage. Leave the seed heads standing in fall, and goldfinches will come for the seeds, while the dried spikes add structure to your winter garden. It self-seeds gently, giving you free plants, and it asks for essentially nothing. This is the perfect perennial. Number 3. Gaura, Lindheimer's bee blossom, and the cultivar whirling butterflies tells you everything. Because that is exactly what this looks like. Delicate 4-petaled white flowers, blushed with pink, dance on long, wiry, arching stems, and when even the slightest breeze passes through, they flutter and bob like a swarm of tiny butterflies hovering over your garden. It is one of the most enchanting sights in any summer border, pure poetry in motion. It blooms from late spring all the way to frost, 5, sometimes 6 months of continuous flowers. Almost nothing matches that. The insider tip is about placement. Plant it where you can see it backlit by the morning or evening sun, because when the light catches those fluttering flowers, the whole plant seems to glow and shimmer. Don't overwater it, don't pamper it, and don't plant it in heavy wet soil or it'll sulk. Give it heat, give it sun, neglect it a little, and it rewards you with months of motion and colour that no other plant on this list can quite replicate. Number 2, garden phlox, Phlox paniculata, and the cultivar, write this one down, is Gianna. Now, I know phlox isn't exactly rare, but Gianna is, and there's a very specific reason this particular variety is at number 2. Most garden phlox gets ruined by powdery mildew, that ugly white coating that turns the leaves to dust by August. Gianna is almost completely mildew-proof. It stays clean, green and gorgeous all season while ordinary phlox falls apart. And the flowers? Big, dome-shaped clusters of lavender-pink blooms with a sweet fragrance that perfumes the entire garden on a warm evening. Phlox Gianna is hardy in zones 4 through 8, grows 4 to 5 feet tall, and blooms for 2 to 3 months through the peak of summer. But here's the fact that earns it this spot. In multiple butterfly studies, Gianna has been documented as one of the single most attractive plants to butterflies ever recorded, drawing more of them than almost any other perennial tested. If you want a yard full of swallowtails and monarchs, this is the plant. Full sun, rich, well-draining soil that stays evenly moist, and good airflow. Deadhead the spent blooms to push even more flowers, and divide the clump every 3 to 4 years for free plants. Beautiful, fragrant, tough, and a butterfly buffet. Gianna is special, and here we are. Number 1. After everything, this is the plant I'd choose if I could only grow one perennial for summer-long colour for the rest of my life. Geranium. The hardy geranium, not the annual kind in the hanging baskets. And the cultivar, the one and only, is Rozanne. If you have never heard of Rozanne, I need you to understand that this plant changed perennial gardening forever, and that is not hype. It was even crowned plant of the centenary, voted the best perennial introduced in the last 100 years. 100 years. Here's why. Rozanne produces an absolute river of saucer-shaped violet-blue flowers, each with a soft white center, sprawling and weaving through your garden in a mound of pretty marbled green foliage. And it blooms, get ready for this, from June until the very first hard frost, not a few weeks, not a couple of months. The entire summer and deep into fall, without stopping, without a single break, and here's the kicker, without any deadheading at all. You plant it once and it just pours out colour for 5, sometimes 6 months a year, every single year. Plant it in full sun to part shade in average, well-draining soil. It's drought-tolerant once established, deer and rabbit resistant, and virtually pest-free. Bees love it. Here's the one insider trick. If it ever looks tired in the heat of midsummer, just shear the whole thing back by about a third, give it a drink, and within 2 weeks it explodes back into full bloom, fresh and lush. That's it. That's the entire maintenance routine for the longest blooming hardy perennial you can grow. Nothing else on this list blooms this long, this reliably, for this little effort. That is exactly why Rozanne is number 1, and once you grow it, you will plant it in every garden you ever own. I promise you that. Now, before you go, do not click away yet, because I'm about to give you the bonuses that actually determine whether all 15 of these plants thrive or flop. These are the things most gardening videos skip completely, and they matter more than any single plant on the list. Bonus 1. Why June is genuinely the perfect time to plant these. By June, your soil has warmed up, which means roots establish fast, far faster than the cold soil of early spring. The plant wakes up and gets growing almost immediately. The one rule you absolutely cannot break is water. A June-planted perennial has to push roots down before the worst heat arrives, so water it deeply 2 or 3 times a week through that entire first summer. Not a light sprinkle, a deep soak that drives the roots downward. Get them through that first season, and almost everything on this list becomes drought-tolerant and basically self-sufficient forever after. The first summer is the whole game. Water like it matters because it does. Bonus 2. The cut-back trick that doubles your colour. Many of the plants on this list, your Knortia, your Scabiosa, your Geranium Rozanne, your Helenium, will bloom dramatically longer if you give them a little intervention. When a plant starts looking tired or leggy in midsummer, don't be afraid to shear it back by a third. It feels brutal, I know, but within 2 to 3 weeks it comes roaring back with a flush of fresh foliage and a whole new wave of flowers that carries you deep into fall. This single technique can add a full extra month or 2 of colour to your garden. Most people never do it. Now you will. Bonus 3. Right plant, right place. This is the one that separates gardeners who succeed from gardeners who keep buying replacements every spring. Look back over this list and you'll notice something. Some of these plants, like sea holly and gora, demand poor, dry soil and full sun, and they rot in rich, wet ground. Others, like Persicaria and Culver's root, want consistent moisture and will struggle if they dry out. Before you buy anything, be honest about your conditions. How much sun does that spot really get? Does the soil drain or does water sit there after rain? Match the plant to the conditions you actually have, not the ones you wish you had. Do this and these plants will outlive you. Ignore it and you'll be back at the nursery in August wondering what went wrong. Bonus 4. Design for continuous colour. Here's the secret that makes a garden look professionally designed for free. 2 things. First, plant in drifts of odd numbers, groups of 3, 5 or 7 of the same plant, rather than dotting single plants around. It creates that flowing, natural, intentional look you see in magazine gardens, and it costs nothing extra, it's just placement. Second, stagger your bloom times on purpose. Look at the bloom windows of these 15 plants and choose a mix, so that as one fades, another is just hitting its peak. When you layer early, mid and late summer bloomers together, your garden never has a dull moment. There is always something flowering, always something for the pollinators, always color. That's how you get a border that looks alive from June to frost. So here's the truth, and I want you to really sit with this. While your neighbors are back at the garden center every single spring, dropping money on annuals that'll be crispy and dead by August, your garden is going to be different. You plant these once, this June, and they come back year after year, blooming longer, spreading wider, getting more beautiful every season, asking for almost nothing in return. That's the deal. That's the perennial promise. One planting, summers of color for years and years to come. And now you know the 15 rare, long-blooming perennials to make it happen. The ones the big channels never show you. If this video gave you even one new plant to try, one fact you didn't know, or one trick that's going to change how you garden, do me one small favor. Hit that subscribe button right now, because we are just getting started. Every single week we dig up the plants and the knowledge that the big channels are too lazy to find. The next video is going to be even better, and you do not want to miss it. So subscribe, hit the bell, and I'll see you in the next one.